Hello, hello. Travel with Eva here with Jordan Travel Enterprise. I have a special guest for you today, but before I introduce you to my special guest, I'm going to let you check out our intro. Okay, welcome back. And I know that I usually come to you on Tuesdays in the past, and it's been a while. So I'm here with you today. I'm hoping to at least get some Travel Tuesdays in a couple of times a month. So welcome to the broadcast. Welcome to Travel Tuesday.
Hello.
Hello, hello. And I have a special guest with you today, Kaerra McCrae. And before I have her get started with the interview, I am going to just introduce her to you, tell you a little bit about her. This is Kaerra McCrae. She is 24 years old, and as a young girl, she had a desire to travel the world and discover other cultures. Learning about other cultures has expanded her mind and view of the world. It has forced her to be independent and open-minded to all different walks of life. There's so much more she would like to discover, and this is just the beginning. And I hope that she hopes that she can help young people who have a desire to travel the world and like she does. So welcome, Kaerra.
Hello. Thanks for having me, Miss Eva.
Oh, you're so very welcome. So before we get started, just tell a little snippet about you. We're going to go more in depth, but tell a little bit about yourself.
So like she said, my name is Kaerra McCrae. And currently I feel like I'm as if I'm a nomad because I really have no exact place where I'm living permanently. But after high school, I moved to California. And in California, that's where I attended college. And I was living in California. And then afterwards, this last year, I moved to Spain and I was living in Spain. And then now I'm back in the States and I'm trying to wait to see if this whole COVID thing goes through, if I can hopefully go back to Spain.
So welcome Jackie to the broadcast. She's saying, hey, Kaerra.
Hi, Jackie.
Okay. So what my first question to you is, the title of this show is Traveling Through the Eyes of a Gen Z.
/ millennial. Millennial. I realized today that like 1996 is the year I'm born. That's the last year of millennial. So I was like, oh.
Yeah. So Gen Z, you can speak a little bit because you just lead that generation. You can speak a little bit for Gen Zs and millennials.
Yeah.
So let's start out with this. What are some of the destinations that you've traveled to?
So I've traveled to Spain. So in Spain, Madrid, Barcelona, Italy, Rome, Italy, and then also Thailand. And in Thailand, I went to Bangkok and Phuket.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So from your perspective, since we're talking about Gen Zs and millennials, what are today's Gen Zs and millennials travelers looking for, and what inspires them?
Mm-hmm. So I feel like a lot of, Gen Z millennials, basis, they're looking for a good time and a place where they can just discover something and have fun. But I think also a lot of the times, like people just in general, the people that I meet when I'm traveling, having the desire, just like me, to explore other countries and to see what's out there and be able to have like those experiences. Especially with the people that they're traveling with.
Okay. So my next question is, what's your travel style? Many people think that Gen Zs and millennials prefer hostels over premium or luxury accommodations. What do you prefer?
Personally, I can't do hostels. I would do Airbnbs and hotels. But when it comes to hostels, I'm just very particular, and I'm very particular about my stuff. However, with hostels, I mean, a lot of people that I know like going to hostels, and they say it's a great way to meet people from all over the world. So I feel as if, I've seen some really nice hostels and they're really fun and they have so much stuff to do. So maybe I can break that barrier one day. But preferably, I like to go the more luxurious way if I can afford it.
Okay. Jackie agrees with you. She said, LOL. She says she doesn't do hostels either.
Yeah. It's like too many people. It's like, okay.
Especially in this day of, but there's always an exception to the rule. So, okay. So my next question to you is, share 2 or 3 things you love about each place, about Spain, Thailand, and Italy.
Okay, so I'll start with Thailand. Scenery, exquisite. It's exquisite. And then also, I really enjoyed like seeing how different the people were from what I was used to. And so I really enjoyed kind of interacting with them. And I feel like we can go into that a little bit more later. But it was also like a lot of shocking experience. And the thing that I realized in Thailand when I went, a lot of the tourists were either from Australia or India. So we didn't meet a lot of Americans or Europeans, but we met a lot of Indians and Australians, which was interesting. My favorite thing about Spain is the culture and the scenery as well, but it's different. It's not as paradise beaches, but it's more like the history, and then you can feel it in the streets. And my favorite is Italy. And I mean, Italy is just perfect to me. The people, the food, the history, it's romantic. I just feel like when I was in Rome, I could just fall in love so easy, because it was just so romantic and beautiful. So.
Sounds wonderful. So you kind of answered my next question. What's your favorite? What was your favorite trip?
Yeah, Italy.
Yeah. And what are some other things about it that just really stood out?
So in the sad part about with Italy, I spent the least amount of time out of all the places, like Thailand and Spain. However, in that short amount of time, I just felt like I met so many great people that were genuine and sincere. Like, for example, I got a tour at the Vatican City, and our tour guide, I was obsessed with him. Like, he was dramatic. He was a typical Italian. And the beautiful. And he was loving it. I was like, oh my God. Like, he cracked me up. He gave so much history. And afterwards, we had a conversation with each other. And it was just so, afterwards, we had a conversation. And he was like, oh, tomorrow, let's hang out. I'll give you a tour of the city, things that you won't even be able to see. So my friend and I, we met up with him, and he gave us our own personal tour of little trinkets of Rome and Italy. And it was just the best experience, even just meeting people in the streets, very personable. And so, yeah, I really love it there.
We have a question. I'll put it up. Jackie says, where in Italy did you visit?
Unfortunately, I only visited Rome. I'm hoping, eventually I'll go visit other places, but right now just Rome.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. So there's so much when you travel somewhere or to a specific location, there's just so much to see and do. And sometimes people try to pack a bunch of stuff in a short amount of time, and sometimes that can reduce your experience. So
I agree.
Had a wonderful time, and that you connected with someone who gave you the insight, kind of inside track. So that was a blessing.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. In view of what has been going on here in the United States with Black Lives Matter, and I know that this may be a question that people want to ask. So traveling as a young Black woman, what has your experience been like? Kind of expound upon that for us.
Okay. My experience has been, it's been very different. And I feel like the thing that us as African American or people of color, no matter where we go, it's always still going to be a thing that we're probably going to have to experience racism in some kind of form. And what I realized when I was in Thailand, it wasn't necessarily that they were racist, but it was ignorance. So, for example, we were going to this remote island, and we were on a boat. It was a few people on the boat. It wasn't just me and my friends.
Uh-huh.
We headed to the island, and then the guy was like, "Hey, where are you guys from?" And my 3 friends, they're Spanish white, but they're white passing, and they're like, "Oh," we all said, "Oh, we're American." And he looks at me and he's like, "No, you're not American." And I said, "Yeah, I'm American." And he's like, "No, there's only white people in America." And I was like, "No, have you ever heard of slavery or this?" Because the thing is he was like, he's used to tourism, but he was a man that lived like on the remote island, and it was like a really small community. Mm-hmm. So all they knew was what they saw of people who came and what they see on TV. And it's like main shows, like Friends, like random shows where all they see is that. And I'm like, "No." And he's like, "No, you must be Indian. Like, I don't think that you're." So just having that dialogue, I was really angry, the fact that I had to argue with him. Mm-hmm. But also I think it was just, I had to calm down and be like, it's just the level of ignorance, and that's just something that I have to deal with. When it comes to Spain, the thing with Europe, I think in general, it's not as to the forefront as it is in America, nor is it's not heavily emphasized, I guess you would say. Mm-hmm. But there are, of course, always going to be little subliminal things. And I haven't fortunately like experienced anything outright when I was in Spain or Italy. However, I'm not saying that, they don't have their issues. But to me, compared to America, I've had a lot more experiences in America. But once again, I live in America. So. Yeah. And then Italy, I like to call Italy, like Italians, like the Africans of Europe. They're so like us. They talk with their hands. They're loud, the food, the people. So, I have met a lot of Italians who just really get along with people of color.
Okay. Here's another comment. And it is like she says, wow, you aren't exposed to Black American travelers, that they weren't exposed to Black American travelers. And so sometimes we become an ambassador in a sense to other countries. Because I can recall a time when I was in Ethiopia and was there on a mission trip, and it was mostly an African American team. And at the end, they said, "You know what? We had a very different impression of African Americans because of what we see on TV, like the Jerry Springer type shows." And they said, "You're so not, what we expected, and we feel like we have a kinship with you, and we're friends with you, and we're so glad that we met you, because before we had this, negative." Negative thinking about who we are as Black people. So we could be ambassadors when we go out.
Exactly. Represent, the perception. So I have 2 questions, but they've written it down. They messaged me. Is that fine if I read?
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
absolutely.
So one was, they want to know what a hostel is.
Oh, okay.
So
cool. Before you say what a hostel is, who was the person? Just say their first name. They may not want to be.
Kivon.
Okay. Kivon.
Yeah.
What is a hostel? Okay.
A hostel is basically how would you explain it, Ziva? It's basically a community style living. When traveling, it's a lot more cheap. Usually you can find rooms for as low as $10, $15 a day. And it's, like we said, it's more for people who are traveling through or finding a less expensive route. And so, it's more of a community style living where usually you share a room with maybe 2 or 3 other people. There's bunk beds and there's community showers.
Right. And I would say also a lot of it, oftentimes it's people who would, like, you hear about it, people who want to backpack Europe and things like that. And they're really not concerned about where they're staying. They just need a place they just want a place to lay their head. And it doesn't matter that it's not private, that it's not, vetted in terms of safety and things like that. Now there are some hostels that are not what we would expect, but for the most part, it's really basic
Exactly.
accommodation.
And I am so envious of those people who can go out into the world and, stay in hostels. I have a lot of friends who want to backpack. And I'm like, I am a little too, like I require a lot, but I'm so envious because I'm like, I really would love to do that. And you save a lot of money.
But it is challenging. For the first time ever, I on a mission trip to Ghana, I stayed in a hostel type accommodations, and it was very, very humbling. Very humbling. I just had to pray through it because it's just so not like accommodations that I would stay at. But because we're there on a mission project, just have to kind of go with the flow. And one of the things when you travel, even no matter what your accommodations are, it's important to be able to be flexible. As Americans, we want things like this, and we just have a different culture and a different pace. And when you leave the country, the pace and the culture is often very different. So you have to be able to adapt and adjust.
Yeah. And then the last part I completely forgot when it came to Thailand of one of my favorite things, which is insane that I forgot, was the animal experience, because you get to have so much close contact. I rode an elephant on the beach and we were in the water with the elephants, like walking around, and they're like, dropping us up in the air and dropping us down, spraying us with water. And then the monkeys, they're like, you go to a temple or the monkey beach and they're just everywhere. And they're like they have so many pictures of just them crawling on me. And so the interaction that you have with nature is just insane. And it was literally my favorite thing. It was just so cool.
I can picture it, being on an elephant in the water. You weren't scared? You weren't scared?
No, not at all. They're the sweetest they're so sweet. We fed them and there was people there. It wasn't like it was just us in the wild. Like they had the people there. And we wanted to go to an elephant sanctuary because they have a lot of these places in Thailand, but it can be cruelty to have them chained and things like that. So we wanted to go to a sanctuary, which is where we went. So that's why they were on the beach. And then they had like an area up in the mountain hills where they put all the elephants at. So,
okay.
Yeah.
My next question is, and if you have questions, be sure to put them in the comments. And then if you're watching this in the replay, put replays rock in the comments. And then also ask your question, because Kaerra will be checking back in the next few days, and she's going to be available to answer questions. So now I want to pivot a little bit.
Okay.
You've done something really interesting. You have in Spain, I believe, you worked there, left the U.S. and went to Spain to work. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. To me, this is one of the most important things that I really want to let young people and even older people know about this opportunity. So because, English is kind of one of the number one global ways to kind of communicate with people, and a lot of countries are demanding English speakers. There are so many programs out there where the government is sponsoring for native English speakers to travel to their country and get paid and work in the classrooms, which is so cool. And so, for example, in Spain, when I was working in Madrid, I only worked 16 hours a week. So like 4 hours a day for 4 days. You had a 3-day weekend, and I got a monthly stipend. And that stipend was good enough for me to, have somewhere to stay and be able to do things, but you do have the budget. But overall, it was so worth it because you're going for the experience. And I feel like, especially if you're like an in-between place, or you just want to travel, or you can't figure out how you can be able to afford traveling, I would really say do a program. And it's just so much fun. And you can work in schools. You work from primary to secondary school. So, elementary, middle, high school. And I watched with high school. So, I worked with high schoolers, which was a lot of fun. And the thing is when you're there, they think you're the coolest person ever. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, she's from America or Australia or whatever their, English speaking country they're from. And they just eat you up. They're like, and it's just so much fun. And it's really easy. It's not like you're a teacher. You're not really even a teaching assistant where you're like grading papers and things like that. It's more so you just come up with fun activities. You do presentations. If they're working on a certain type of subject, you can, suggest different things. So it's a lot of fun.
It sounds really interesting. So you said that you get a stipend. Now, does that cover your expenses to get to? But did it cover your expenses to get to Spain and for you to be able to be there without having a lot of funds on your own?
Yeah. So depending on what country you're in is depending on how much you make. If you really want to be able to also be able to make money and kind of save way, I would say that you can do the Middle East and Asia. You get paid the most, especially in the Middle East. They pay the most, and they also pay for your where you live. And I think that's it. They pay for your accommodations, which is a big deal. Now, Europe, a lot of people want to go to Europe, and the program, they don't pay as much. So, for example, in Spain, I only received €1,000 a month, which is kind of like, ooh, I don't know if I can afford. But if you budget it right, you can do fine because the cost of living is lower in Spain. It's not like here. So you can be able to budget it. Now, they don't provide, the plane ticket there and, like all those different things. They'll give you resources, but you'll have to do it yourself.
Okay.
And if you go through the embassy, like I'm going through the embassy, it's a no cost. It's at no cost. You just apply. It's really easy to apply. Even if you don't have your degree, if you're a native English speaker, you'll most likely be able to get in. So
that's really
interesting. High school.
So it's an interesting way to be able to travel and have not just a touristy experience, but a way to kind of get to know the people and
immerse yourself
amongst yourself. Now, there's Jackie had another question. She said, when you travel, do you focus on sustainable practices, or is your comfort and experiences primary?
Let me see if I understand that question. So I don't really understand by what's asking, Jackie.
Okay, I'll ask her to clarify in the comments.
Yeah, because I'm a little confused on that. I want to make sure.
Okay. But she does have another question.
Okay.
Here we go. Do you know of other remote programs?
Other remote programs. So all of them that I know are teaching English, but you can go anywhere in the world. So, if you want to Austria, if you want to go to Middle East, Africa, there's South America, there's programs everywhere that you can apply for. Now, when it comes to like internships and things like that, I don't know specifically, but what I always tell people is there's two websites that I love using to look at programs that everyone has, goabroad.com and goingglobal.com. So those two, it's great. You can just go on and they'll tell you all different programs that are available for you to travel for, for internships, college, teaching English. So
later on, I'm going to have Kaerra put those two websites in the comments. Did you have any questions on your?
Yeah. Oh, and that's another thing. Sorry. That's another thing that you also can get in this program is that you meet so many other millennials, Gen Zs, because everyone in the program are kind of in the same boat as you, coming either from the States, Australia, Norway, wherever. And you get to just meet people and create a community. and then also meet people native to the country.
Okay. Now, one question based on all your travels, what are some travel tips that you would recommend for people to consider? And I did have another question that I kind of missed.
I had another question about the nightlife.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
So the nightlife, depending on where you're at, the nightlife to me is so much better abroad. I mean, in Barcelona, I mean, in Spain in general, Italy, places don't close till like 6 a.m. So it's a completely different lifestyle. People don't start going out until like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. So it's kind of like very different. It's fun. It's a lot more open and people dance, and it's just such a fun and open culture. And honestly, the nightlife was just amazing. And there's just so many different things that you can do. All types of music, all types of people.
Now, I might have missed it because I might have gotten distracted. So nightlife in which location? Would you say that about 3 or?
Oh, I was saying that about Europe. In Thailand, we were a little bit more cognizant of the nightlife that we were doing because, you know, Thailand is beautiful. We were in a touristy place, but it also, you know, it can be dangerous in certain areas. So we stayed in touristy areas. So the touristy areas that we stayed in, it was fun. A lot of it was beach stuff or things that were going on at hotels and stuff.
So two people have made comments. Thank you, Denise, for joining us. She was saying safety, you know, in terms of your travels. And then Jackie also had a question. Do you feel safe enjoying the nightlife? So the word safety more in general.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jackie's question.
So safety in general, no matter where I go, I feel like safety is kind of always at the back of my head, just because, you know, you can be in the nicest neighborhood, the nicest area, but something can still happen. Mm-hmm. So I think it's just being cognizant of your surroundings, finding the resources that you need. So wherever country I'm going to, I sign up for the U.S. Embassy there. So if I'm in Spain, I'm signing up for the U.S. Embassy notifications. Thailand, U.S. Embassy that they have there in Thailand, I'm signing up for their notifications because they keep you up to date. They'll let you know what's going on. So, for example, I just got a message when I was staying in Barcelona. They're having some protests there. So the U.S. Embassy would send an email out, hey, the protests are going on in this area, so be cognizant. And I think in general, as long as you're smart about it, you know, have buddies, that's why you want to create a community where you go with people and you're just being cognizant of your surroundings. Now, would I say that Europe is more safe than America? Absolutely. I feel a lot more safe being out at night in Europe and Spain and Italy than I do even being in California. You know, it's just different type of safety precautions, you know, when you're in Europe. And so, but in Thailand, I would definitely say sometimes, you know, you have to be more safe, and safety is important just because outside of the touristy area, you know, unfortunately, there are a lot of people who are, you know, going through things, and there's a lot of thefts and such. So I would just say be a little bit more careful about that.
Another question coming through. How do you tend to create your friendships if you're traveling solo?
Solo. So the big thing that you have to be when you're traveling anywhere is you have to be open. Do you know what I mean? And it's hard because you have to get out of your comfort zone, because if you're just there and you're relying on just, you know, people coming to you, it's just not a reality. That's even here. So there's two things that I suggest. People who are introverted, people where it's harder for them to go out and meet people. There's this app. It's called Bumble. It's a dating app. But hold on, I'm going somewhere. It's a dating app, right? And a lot of people don't know that they have another function. And another function is Bumble BFF. So if you download the app and you go on Bumble, they'll say Bumble Date, Bumble BFF, and then they have Bumble Business. And that's for like if you want to connect with different business ventures. A lot of my friends in Spain that were there before me met a lot of their Spaniard friends from Bumble BFF, And that's how we created. I know, Jackie, it sounds crazy, but it's a thing people do. They created a lot of friends. And the thing with the Bumble BFF is there's people, it's native people usually that are on there, or people from all over the world, you know? So it's a great way to meet people. And the thing is people who are on there, they're in the same situation as you. They're looking for friends to go hang out with, travel with, whatever. So that was what I would suggest for introverted, even extroverted. Then if you're extroverted I'm a little bit more extroverted. I would go places, especially in Europe. It's, going to a cafe around the corner. It's really normal. So I would go to the cafe. So when I was staying in Barcelona, I had some friends. When I first got there, I was kind of doing things by myself. Mm-hmm. I would go to this cafe around the corner because I loved the coffee. I loved the ambiance, and I got to know the workers. And then one of the workers, I got, he invited me out. Hey, let's go out, da, 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 da. And I met his friends. And so I think just like being open was really good for me, because then I was able to meet a lot of people. Just like the example I gave when we were in Italy, the Vatican City. If I didn't go up to him and be like, oh my God, I loved your tour, you're so funny, da da da, he wouldn't have known. And I wouldn't have been able to get a whole tour of Rome from someone who knows everything about his city, you know? Mm-hmm. So that's what I would suggest.
We got another question coming in. Did you join the Black Lives Matter protests in Spain?
Yes, I did. We did a silent protest in Spain, and we all created signs. And, just because we were social distancing, it was like 10 people max, but we did it all over in Madrid. And it was great. We all wore black, and there's been a few of those, and they were all peaceful protests, and it was a really good experience.
How did you find out about it?
My friends, like just the friends I had, and they organized, and their friends, and then it just, people were organizing it, and from my friends to their friends, it's just the word of mouth.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's just it has really been really refreshing to see the world take up the challenge and in terms of Black Lives Matter, and becoming more aware of the situation and the injustices. So it's
exactly.
And the fact that it's all different people from all different races, young and old. I can recall it was a prayer march here in Florida, and this young couple, white couple, had their little children, and they had their little signs about peace and love and Black lives, and it was so sweet. It was like about the little girl she was like about maybe 3 years old or 4 years old. Mm-hmm. And it's just was special.
That's so cute. I'm obsessed.
So now, my kind of one question that I asked about, and you did mention one, was some of the travel tips that you have when you travel. You talked about safety, and then also I wanted to ask you the question: when you travel, do you take advantage of a travel advisor? Do you book on your own? And what's your feedback or comments that you would have on that? Those are my two questions.
Okay, so most of the time I do figure out when I'll book on my own. Now, it's a lot of research, and it takes a lot of time, and you really have to be thorough. And if you're not that way, it can be very overwhelming. So if you can get the assistance from someone else to help you organize everything, I feel like that's very important, especially if you're just going for a vacation. So if you're going for a vacation, it's like, for example, when we were in Thailand, we went for 18 days, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah, and we went to 2 different places, so Bangkok and Phuket. But then Phuket, we went to the different islands too. So it was a lot of work for us to figure out flights and here and there. And, looking back on it, because we were trying to be so cheap, when we were coming back, we had a layover in China's airport for 18 hours, and we couldn't leave because of because of visa issues. So we were in an airport for 18 hours, and then we still had to get on our flight back to California for 16 hours. So those little things that when you're planning, you're just like, oh, okay, like, because you're just trying to, and we didn't really do as much research as we should have. I would definitely say that you should definitely try to get some help or go through a travel agent to help assist you through your bookings.
Especially during these times, there's so much to be aware of when, just traveling internationally, and knowing the destination and things that you need, visas, passports, immunizations. But even now, more than ever, because of the pandemic, as countries and places open up, there's all these different kind of regulations, and they're changing every day. So I would definitely recommend using a travel professional for your travels.
I agree.
And we got two other questions come up here.
Yeah, I'm so excited about questions.
Yes. Okay. So Ms. Johnson asks, I understand that Spain began the celebration of healthcare workers. Did you experience that? And if so, talk about that.
Yes. I believe Italy was the first and then Spain was the second, because those two had the highest numbers in Europe initially. So what they would do is every day at the same time at 8 p.m., everyone went outside on their balconies or anything, and they clapped and whistled to appreciate the nurses and doctors who were on the front lines helping. And I think it eventually came to America, but it had started in Italy and Spain. So every single day our lockdown was, Europe really, really made sure that they did what they have to do. So we could not leave our houses unless it was for the grocery store, the pharmacy, or a doctor's appointment. And you could get fines because the police was out everywhere. So if the police stopped you and you didn't really have a valid excuse, or you're just hanging out, you could be fined a lot of money. I had like 5,000 euros or something. Like, it was a lot of money. They were so serious about it. And like there was a certain amount of distance you could go from your home. You could kind of go around it, but a lot of people, even the young people, were very serious about it. It was just like, no, we're going to stay home. And we were like that for like 3 months without being able to really go out like that. So
before you continue, how did you deal with that? Being away from, not being home in the US.
A lot of wine. Family game nights. I set up family game nights every Saturday. And then we would all get on Zoom and play games and stuff. I have friends that I could like my friends from back home. I would be on the phone with them. Thank God I had roommates, and they were a couple and they had a dog. So our apartment, thankfully, was really pretty, and we had a beautiful balcony. And so I got really cool with the girl and the boy. And so we would work out, we would do yoga, you figure out how to make it happen. And I feel like through that time, because you have so much time and we're always on the go, those are the best times to really kind of reevaluate everything. Figure out what you want to do with your life, have those conversations and be okay with just being still. And it's a blessing in disguise, so it wasn't all horrible. And I was able to really kind of like discover more about myself, journal, and think about those things.
Okay, then another question came in. It says to talk about how much fun you had on your birthday at the music festival.
Oh, so my birthday, my 21st, 22nd, 23rd birthday last year, and I stayed in Barcelona for a month, and on the day of my birthday, they were having a music festival, Tomorrowland, and I'm pretty sure a lot of the young people will know what I'm talking about. And it was amazing. If you're a festival person, the biggest one is in Germany, but then they do subsets. And so it was an all-day thing. And the really cool thing about it is they had everywhere was having festivals, so they'll show like, oh, people in Prague, people in Italy, and like they'll show it on the screens. And it was just one of the best experiences that I had. The fact that I could be in Barcelona, I go to my first music festival, and it was the funnest thing ever. So those are the opportunities that you can have when you're going other places. And I was able to go with friends that I met there. So, you know, when you're open and you're getting to know people, these are the experiences that you can have. And all the people that I met now are like friendship, like lifelong friendships. Like we connected when I was living in Barcelona, you know, like that's this experience that you really can't say a lot of others had. So
It is great to stay contacted, because even for me in my travels over the years to other countries, I'm thankful for the social media, because it just makes it so much easier to stay connected and to follow up on what's happening in people's lives, and also they'll say, hey, come back and visit, and I'm like, oh, and don't
right.
stay in a hotel, come and stay at our house.
Me.
Dinner. We'll have people over, and it's just a wonderful experience. So I'm really glad that you had the opportunity to leave the U.S. and have these experiences. And I know that you're not done. What's in Kaerra McCrae's future?
So by you know, when I die, I want to be able to say that I visited every single continent. I'm not saying every single country, every single continent. So I want to be able to, you know, go to Africa, South America, you know, I want to be able to go to Australia, New Zealand. So I want to touch at least each continent. However, in direct what is going to happen, hopefully I get to go back to Spain. I applied to go to Valencia. So I was in Barcelona and then Madrid, and now I want to go to Valencia. Valencia is on the coast. So hopefully with everything, I'll go back to Spain. And then when I'm in Spain, I plan on staying there for more than a year or two. But I want to, after Spain, I want to go to Austria. And that's my only plan. But I do want to eventually, and, you know, hopefully I will be able to move kind of permanently to Europe. So that's like a long-term goal and something that I really hope that I'll be able to do. And that's a process. But through traveling and building connections, you know, it makes it a lot easier, because then people can help you through that. If you go here, they can tell you opportunities that are going on, etc.
Sounds wonderful. Well, I will be praying for you. You know, I always pray for you. I'll be praying for you that that God will give you the desires of your heart. And thank you again so much for joining this time.
Of course.
Jackie's clapped us up. Thank you, girl.
You held us in there. You had great questions.
Thank you. And let me share a little bit about me. Excuse me, hide that. I am a group travel event specialist. I help you to have worry-free vacation, group vacations and conferences. You know, we talked about it a little bit. A lot of people are overwhelmed with the planning and stress of planning the logistics of group travel. Because you think about it, one person travel internationally, when you're looking at a whole group, there's a lot of moving parts. Well, we transform your ordinary event into an amazing group adventure at sea and on land. And right now, we're all in lockdown or dealing with the pandemic. So I want you to dream now, plan now, and travel later.
Ooh, I like that. Now, plan now, travel later.
That's right. It's 2021 is open. People are booking. And for people who are more conservative and think, you know what, I want to kind of wait and see what's going to happen. 2022 is open for quotes and planning. And you know that by Lord God willing, and Lord willing, by 2022, things will be quite different. So plan that, dream now, plan now, and travel later. So again, thank you. And let me put up some banners. Now, if you want to stay connected with Kaerra, um, this is her Instagram. Is that correct, Kaerra?
Mhm.
And she's on Facebook also at Kaerra McCrae. You may have some more questions about, her experience working in Spain and how she did it. And she's available to talk with you about that.
I love chatting, and if you ever travel like to those areas and I'm there, I'm so open to hanging out. I'm all about it. So just message me if you want.
Okay. So don't forget to subscribe. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. On Facebook, like and share. And you can find me at JordanTravelEnterprise.com. And I also have a blog at travelwitheva.com. So I am going to close this out. Again, thank you so much for everyone who participated, asked questions, and thank you, Kaerra. Looking forward to staying connected and finding out about your adventures in the futures. And I always like to end my broadcast by saying,
dream now, plan now, travel later.
That, and also,
I was so excited to say it. I thought we were going to do it together.
No, let me do this and then we'll do it together.
Got it. Okay. All right.
I'd like to say is have a blessed day, evening, night, wherever you are. And take time, and please take time to be a blessing to someone else. And now we can do it together. Dream now,
plan
now, and travel later. All right. Bye for now. God bless.
Okay, bye.